Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Atheist Viewpoint. I'm Ellen Johnson, president of American Atheists, and on my right, on your left, is Dennis Horvitz, my trusty co-host, and you know the face right here. Yes, you do. For you longtime viewers of the Atheist Viewpoint, this, of course, is Ron Barrier, the original co-host and actually the founder. You originated the show. We did it
get the ball rolling.
On Staten Island, 1994.
Right.
1994.
Yes.
And then I joined you as a co-host, and we co-hosted for many years.
Mm-hmm.
What a fantastic co-host. It's so nice to have you back.
And I've given up trying to fill your shoes.
There's no shoes to fill, believe me. No, I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. I haven't defected to the other side or anything. It's just taking a break. Sometimes you need to take a break. You need to step back.
Well, tell everybody what you're doing.
Well, I'm a full-time musician now, which is something I've always wanted to do. But, you know, more important, not me, but the thing you have to realize, and I think this is something I realized stepping back a little bit and going on a sabbatical for a few years, is for you viewers out there, you don't realize the extreme pressure and difficulty that spokespeople for rational thought have in having to deal with religious folks on news shows and debates and whatnot. One of the reasons, honestly, that I had to step back is I got fed up with religious folk. Okay, they're devious, and I'm not saying all, but the ones who are the most vocal, who are the representatives, the ones you see on the media, are devious. They are deceitful. They are historical revisionists, and you have to very, very carefully listen to their words, because they pack a falsehood in so few words that it takes 5 or 10 minutes to try and explain it. And on some of these networks, like Fox News Channel and some of the others, you don't get a chance to respond. So the amount of stress that Ellen and other representatives of the free thought movement undergo when they engage these people on the air is tremendous. And I have to applaud that there's a lot of them like Ellen that go out there and beat those bushes every day. You know. But I just wanted to say that because stepping back a little bit and you know, being more at home and doing other things I wanted to, and then watching this stuff on television kind of makes me realize that I needed to get away for a little while. It's a tough
exhausting
thing.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and when you have the preponderance of the American public lacking the critical thinking skills to see through these arguments, sometimes it feels like you're beating your head against the wall. And you know, I have to applaud you guys, American Atheists, especially for being out there on the forefront, to continue. And I'm starting to see the fruits of it. Did you know that Borders bookstore now has a free thought section?
One of their stores.
One of their stores, but one is the first step.
Right.
You know,
right.
I guess the Zen move is every journey begins with a first step.
There was a display of atheist books.
Right. And we'd like to see that more. I've walked by a bookstore and have seen Atheism, the Case Against God, and some of these other famous books in the windows. So, if anything, very quietly, the movement is moving to the forefront. And I think more young people, hopefully more young people, will respond to thinking about these religious arguments that you see constantly on the air.
That leads me to a question that I just thought of a question to ask you, that just from your perspective, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic, meaning that I'm somewhat letting go of my pessimism. So there seems to, with all of these books published by atheists for the general public now, do you think that the pendulum is maybe, if not starting to swing back in the other direction, at least slowing down in its momentum, or do you think it's even there's more reason for optimism than that?
Let me preface that question by saying, first of all, I don't think you will ever religion will ever dissipate.
No.
All right, religion will never dissipate, because since no God exists, they will always have the argument that you can't disprove the existence in my mind. And I think that's kind of like a catch-22 that just, I mean, religion is wonderful. If you look at this whole moral code of religion, they are always on both sides of every issue. How Darwinian can you get?
Totally adaptive.
Right, they're totally adaptive that no matter what the outcome, religion comes out smelling like roses. So, you know.
No matter what reality turns out to be, they've got an answer that fits within.
That's right.
Within their myth.
That's right. And I think if we get the message out to people to realize that, look, yes, you say the religious are on one side, but no, if you really open up the spectrum of your argument, you will see religions on the other side also. Right. And even that alone should give you pause to wonder, well, how absolute is this truth if it's on both sides of the pendulum? And no matter which way the pendulum goes, they win. But getting back to your question, I think I would prefer to say that I think there is more interest in rational thinking.
Okay.
I think one of the next steps, and hopefully educators will do it, is we have to get critical thinking into the grammar schools. Unfortunately, we live in a society or in a world that when a child is born, the first thing that is thrust upon them is religion. And unfortunately, then later on in their lives, they really don't get comparative religion or learn about the history of religion until they're more mature in their college years. I really think it should be reversed. A child should be taught to think critically so that when their mind becomes developed and matured enough to make decisions, then they can study religion and make a choice whether or not they want to embrace one or not.
And let me just add to that I think that certainly in the high school level, that a basic course in the United States Constitution should be required for graduation.
Civics lessons are practically extinct in the history of the United States. Even when I went to school, though, in the 50s, they explained the procedure getting to the Constitution, but the whys and the wherefores and the real tug-of-war that went behind the scenes is pretty much glossed over. You have to go out and find out yourself, unfortunately, because for most people, especially what you have out there is you have to go to the library, you have to ferret it out. And unfortunately, there also, the preponderance, there's a great amount of religious publishers, from Bob Jones University to Zondervan and all that, to David Barton, that almost make this revisionist history available to children through churches and through religious institutions for free. And so that's like kind of given to them, and it's hard to try and extract them from that atmosphere and put them into something a little more open-minded where they can actually go to the library and see the different
There's also a practical
arguments.
side of being rational, is that we have to compete in a global market, and we have to have more rational thinking, more logical people, more scientifically literate people, and a better educated populace to compete economically in a global market, in a global world. I mean, the Indians are kicking our butts. The Chinese, everybody's, they're just, we're not going to make it. And so
Nature abhors a vacuum. Somebody's going to fill that spot.
Right, and we're going to lose. It's going to hurt us.
Yes.
So.
Well, that trend started also a couple of decades ago when it was noted that in college classes, especially on the East Coast, with the influx of Asian students, that American students were bailing out of those classes because the Asian students were setting too high of a curve. Their work ethic, far superior. But you're absolutely right, Ellen. I mean, there was a YouTube episode with a young man from Staten Island or something like that, where he was ragging on his teacher about bad marks, and he got in trouble anyway for some offensive language in it. But the thing that struck me is here's a kid who's saying, he's reading his report card on the air, and he's going, oh, look at this, 35 in math and 20 in science. Well, I don't need no math or science. I'll leave that to the scientists. Now let's think about that question. Where are the scientists going to come from? You. From the very guy who's rejecting it, saying, let's leave it to scientists. He's the scientist of the future, and he's throwing it away.
It's a complex problem because we have to do a better job of reaching kids and maybe, revisit the way we teach in schools, because so many kids at that age, you're competing with so much in their lives and so many changes in their lives that you really have to be a little bit more